Marty here with Warehouse and Operations as a Career. We appreciate you listening in with us today. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcatcher. It's free and you won't have to catch a Facebook post to grab every episode. It'll notify you every time a new show drops and you'll never miss one of them. Speaking of Facebook, you can check out our feeds there and on Twitter using that little @ sign. WHSEANDOPS. We always continue the conversation on both of them each week and use them for articles and things like that as we run across them every now and then. Well, enough of all that. Let's talk a little bit of ops for a few minutes. A really good friend sent me an article from CNN.com and said that we just had to talk about it on WAOC. You know, what we do in our industry, warehousing and transportation, can really be so dangerous if we're not properly trained or don't think about, safety all the time. Many of our tasks are repetitious. We do them day in and day out, every day and every week. When handling freight, even one wrong lift or just twisting wrong can ruin our backs. You know, using even the manual pallet jacks can be dangerous. And through our powered industrial truck training, we know how dangerous our equipment can be. And then there's transportation and driving. Now that's a whole other story. You know, on the road with 30,000 to 80,000 pounds under us, it takes training, focus, and being aware of our surroundings at all times to remain safe. The CNN story that she sent me was about a 70-year-old man. We'd have to assume that he was very experienced with operating the lift on his farm. It happened in the UK, in a small farming town in western England. He had his Jack Russel dog with him that day. It sounded like they'd always kind of rode together when he was working out in the fields. The coroner believed that the gentleman left the operator's compartment, placed the unit in neutral to open a closed gate, walked in front of the lift or the load, to open the gate, and his dog inadvertently hit the forward lever, which geared the lift, crushing his owner between the gate and the load. It's awful to think about how something as simple as setting the parking brake may have saved his life. As we've learned from our pit training or powered industrial truck training, never get out of the seat without, setting the brake and turning off our units. A split-second choice can really change our lives and the lives of our loved ones. So I went online looking for some good data on equipment accidents, and to be honest, found way too many incidents. So many accidents can really be avoided. We just have to stay focused on our jobs and try not to let all the distractions, distract us. www.lantech.com has a good article on pallet jack safety fails, a few links to videos showing us what not to do and how dangerous those choices can be. They state that between 2002 and 2016, OSHA reported 56 major injuries occurring that involved pallet jacks. These included 25 fractures, 4 fatalities, and 8 amputations. You know, common sense should tell us to never place our feet under or near a load and to watch for those pinch points on our fingers when handling the controls. This article does a really good job of pointing out that, we are our own worst enemies regarding pallet jack usage. The fun and games are always a blast until someone gets hurt. As embarrassed as I am to say it, I actually broke my left arm once operating a tugger. I wasn't following the preferred work method, and I swung my foot around the back of the tow bear to unhook a buggy latch, and my shoelace got hung up on the buggy release, actually pulling me off the machine, and me landing on my arm and face. A hard lesson learned, to say the least. Another really good article at ohsonline.com tells us that there are roughly 85 forklift fatalities and 34,900 serious injuries each year, with 42% of the forklift fatalities from the operators being crushed by tipping vehicles, as reported by OSHA. I'll include this article's URL with today's show notes, as I will with all of today's research materials, but you should definitely check this one out. I found it really interesting. It speaks about an owner of a machinery and training school's own fatality while producing a forklift training video. The investigation found the incident to be driver error, driving too fast over rough terrain and not using the seatbelt. As equipment operators, we all know about the OSHA standard 29 CFR 1910.178 and how it came about and its importance, and I'm sure or hope that every country has their own agency and regulation for the proper training of operators. If you're operating any type of machine or a piece of powered industrial equipment and have not had any formal training on it, I encourage you to ask your immediate supervisor about it. And please remember, and I know you get tired of me saying it sometimes, but please never get on, touch, even stand next to a piece of equipment if you haven't been trained and certified on it. It's really just not worth the dangers to yourself or others. And here in the States, it's the law, and the law can carry quite hefty penalties too, and probably as it should. Anyway, I strayed a little again. So I found this really neat page on OSHA.gov. It's a search page where you can type in information that you're looking for on reported accidents. Kind of cruising through the page, I found a pre-entered report on walk-behind forklift that brought up 118 incidents. It'll give you descriptions and even a detail tab for each one. A few of the listed incidents were employee's leg fractured when pallet jack strikes rack, employee injured when caught between forklift and truck, employee injured in fall when pallet jack moves. This one right here, I really hated hearing. Employee's thumb amputated when caught under switchboard. Employee's hand amputated when caught by crossbar. Employee's ankle fractured when run over by pallet jack. And I've actually heard of several of these. Employee's foot crushed in pallet rider accident. Employee's foot fractured between pallet jack and guardrail. All of these are just horrible accidents and so preventable. As operators, it's our responsibility. It's really our jobs to be focused on our task and to be aware of our surroundings at all times, isn't it? Anyway, all this information is available and searchable. It's all reported by our employers on their OSHA 300 logs each year. I probably should have reached out to our WAOC friend Joe. I bet he could have gave us the short version on 300 logs, but I found a little information at www.industrysafe.com. It's pretty informative. I've included their link too, so you can check it out. It tells us the OSHA 300A log is a annual summary of all OSHA recordable incidents at each business location. The OSHA 300A log of the previous year's incidents must be posted for employees to view at each job site from February 1st to April 30th of each year. I found some more information at www.safetyservicescompany.com. It's really informative also. Simply put, the Form 300 is a report of work-related injuries and illnesses. It's very comprehensive and should list everything according to the published guidelines. Part of the process is filling out the Form 301, Injury and Illness Incident Report, within 7 calendar days of the occurrence. This information is then used to fill out the file for the 300 log. We've talked a lot about the importance of our supervisor's accident or incident investigation reporting, how important that witness statements, a statement from the employee himself or herself, and a supervisor's report are to our HR departments. This information is used to help compile these reports and logs. The bottom line is we, as employees, need to be careful, focused, and use our training at all times. We're responsible for following all the safety practices and procedures of our employers and the OSHA standards. They were written for our protections and they will help keep us safe. We just need to follow them. Now, please don't take all this as sounding negative towards being an equipment operator. These positions are all great careers. I've been tasked with every one of them and loved each and every position. All I'm saying is to remember that they can be dangerous. We need to stay sharp and focused on them. It's a job. our jobs, and safety is our first task at hand. I guess you could say equipment doesn't hurt people. People do. Well, there's a little information on where we can learn a little about the history and stats on accidents in our industry. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to look into for you, just shoot us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. I'd love to get back to you with an answer. Well, thanks again for listening in. Have a prosperous and safe week ahead. Please think safe, be safe, and work safe. We have others waiting at home for our safe return each day.